Hey guys, what's up? It's Lizzie Jane, and we're back with another episode of the podcast this week. I have BACLASH Denver native joining me today. He is an icon graduate. It has been awesome to talk to him about his journey, speak with him about his project, finding his place amongst the stars in the electronic dance music scene. He has just released his debut EP, Turning Over, in addition to an awesome collab that just came out with one of my favorite acts right now, CAPSHUN, called Lost Contacts. I think this conversation really gives insight to up-and-coming acts, fostering relationships with other artists and industry professionals, and how over time, just being really genuine and finding your community will always, reap its own benefits. And between LA, Denver, his travels now, and him starting to play shows nationally, it has been awesome to see him grow. I absolutely hope you guys are loving the Ignite EP. That was my debut EP, 7 tracks, 1 story, that just came out last Friday. All of the messages and shares and love that I'm receiving, I feel incredibly blessed. And thank you guys so much for listening to such a meaningful record that I put in so much time to create and really came to fruition with the beautiful people around me. I also just had an insane announcement today that I will be hosting Insomniac Radio interviews this year at EDC Las Vegas as one of their main hosts. So you'll be able to catch me on their live streams, on their broadcasts. I am sitting down with some of the biggest names in dance music, and I can absolutely not wait. In addition to playing my first set at EDC Las Vegas next Saturday night at, I guess technically Sunday morning at 2:30 a.m. I've never done Vegas. I've never done EDC Las Vegas, so I have no idea what to expect, and I cannot wait to see you guys under the electric sky. If you guys love what we're doing here, make sure to smash that subscribe button on YouTube, share the podcast on your story, tag friends. Word of mouth is always the best way to, share these things. Let's hop in. You're tuning into the Lizzie Jane podcast with special guest BACLASH. Devon, thanks for coming on the podcast today.
Thank you.
For people who are not aware of whom I'm speaking with, this is BACLASH. He is Denver native.
Yes.
Has been back and forth between LA and here, makes like wavy future UKG bass stuff. And it's really exciting to see like a lot of artists starting to prosper and like come into their own in being like a versatile artist. I feel like listening like through your first EP, which came out recently.
Yes.
Super exciting. We'll definitely get into that later. It's cool to like just feel refreshed. So did you always like give us a little bit of background on you? Did you always know you wanted to make this music?
So originally growing up in Colorado, I always heard of like Red Rocks and things and hated Red Rocks because my mom would take me there and like work out and I would just sit on the rocks for hours. So I literally was like not like anti Red Rocks, but I was just like, I hate Red Rocks. And no, I grew up like doing action sports and things like that. Got a snowboarding injury when I was like 14, blew out my ACL, did a bunch of fun stuff like that. And was just like on the couch going into high school. I think like all of us around that time in 2011, I found Skrillex and then was just like, how do I do this? How do I get into this? And got into high school and somebody was like, we're going to Funk Case tonight at Cervantes. And I was like, what does he do? And they were like, dubstep. And I was like, oh, I love Skrillex. And they're like, yeah. So I ended up going to Cervantes and very different experience than what I was expecting, but it kind of like kicked everything off. And I don't know, like before that I was competing in like snowboarding, things like that. And all the other kids were getting way better than me. And like, it was to the point where it's like everyone's doing double corks and things like that. And I was like, all right, I'm not gonna do this. And yeah, just kind of like jumped in that way, not into production at first, started just like, I literally got this like turntable thing with an iPad in it and didn't know how to beat match or anything like that.
That's fun.
And did that for like 2 years and then got Ableton. And yeah, like started going to Red Rocks and my view flipped. I started to love Red Rocks.
Not just for the stairs.
Not just for the fucking stairs.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that was kind of a long-winded way of saying no. Like I wasn't into this really at all. I definitely got into electronic music from snowboarding though, looking back on it. I mean, you snowboard, so as every good snowboarder does, we watched The Art of Flight with Travis Rice.
Yep.
There's an original to that, which is called That's It, That's All. And I remember being like, I was probably like 9, and we went up to the mountains on a snowboard trip, and our family friends brought their kids from college, and they like sat me down and like showed me this movie. And it was like MGMT by Kids was in there. There was a couple of Justice tracks, and that like became my like identity essentially.
It goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
It really does.
And I didn't even know like what it was, like EDM. And then like GoPro started doing these ads with the Glitch Mob. Mm-hmm. So like I didn't know. I just thought it was like MGMT's like electronic jam band type stuff. Like obviously everyone probably knows MGMT, but I didn't know like that was what it was at the time. And yeah, I don't know. That just became like that movie. I can look back and like I dressed like that. I like that was like just became my entire identity. So it's like weird that what I was doing before was like tied into what I've been trying to do since I was like 14 now.
There's something super like aligned about like the snowboarding community and then like people in music, like when you're really embedded. And I've definitely seen that as I've been more like involved out here, because there's some people that I know that very much so live out of vans. They chase the snow, but they're also like media for DJs, and like they have this like weird crossing, and through their social media platforms, I've seen how like it's just different communities. It's like a hobby or like an activity or whatever you're like really invested in. Yeah. I just see these like crazy similarities. And then on top of that, like I grew up snowboarding to like Nirvana and Offspring. And the first time I ever like really got into electronic dance music was literally, I think it was at North Star. And they play like music on the slopes. Yeah. And they would do like night skiing, and they would play like the same shit, like MGMT. They would play like Daft Punk. They would play like music like that. And something clicked in me for sure when I moved out here and I started like, we did the first season in like 2022, first winter. I was just like, damn, like I want to make music that I can like ride to, that you can like shred to, that you put in your ears and you're like, this is like what I would put in my playlist. Like send your homies. And like, I feel like your music sits in that as well.
Yes. No, like one of my biggest goals still, like playing like Red Rocks, all these things would be cool. My biggest goal is still to have like a pro snowboarder do a video part to one of my songs. Yeah. That'd be like the fucking coolest thing ever.
Be like the craziest thing ever. I've reached out to a few girls that I've seen like on the circuit, and I've sent them like Dropbox folders. I'm like, hey, I don't know, maybe you'll enjoy this. Like, hey, here you go. Cause I feel like there's just such like a co-alignment. And I don't know why I never saw this in Florida. Like maybe it's becoming more of a thing, or maybe it's just because now they know I'm in Denver, so it's on my algorithm or my feed. Yeah. But like all like the après ski stuff and like the parties, like not even here, like over in like the Netherlands and like the Alps and like all that shit. Tokyo looks crazy where you have these people, and it's like even artists that have lived here forever, like Maddie O'Neill, where they do mountain tours super regularly because the culture up there, like the lifties, the workers, like all those guys love it. They love it. And it's cool. And you being in like Colorado your whole life, I know you weren't necessarily in Denver. You were from Winterpark, right?
Yeah. So Winterpark, I would kind of bounce around between Winterpark and Denver. Okay. The schools up there was like one point where the school like didn't get enough funding, was going to shut down. My parents like freaked out, and they're like, we're going full time back to Denver. Yeah. But like when I think of home, it's definitely Winterpark.
Was that just, I always try and put myself in somebody's shoes who was a kid who was raised on the mountain, and how fucking sick that would be.
So like, I don't even remember like learning how to snowboard. It's just like
you're like the 3-year-old.
No, literally, I was 2.5, and my dad put me on skis, and he said I hated it. And then the next season, he put me on a snowboard, and I just never looked back.
Damn.
But it's like, yeah, growing up in the mountains was definitely special. I mean, there's like, it's like a beach town. There's pros and cons to both. There's mud season, which if people don't know about is between the winter and summer on either side. There's nothing going on, and it's just muddy, and like the restaurants shut down and things like that. But no, it was special growing up there. And then weirdly enough, when I got into high school, switched over to like I was still snowboarding all the time, but was like becoming this little raver kid. They announced there's this festival called Snowball. And all of a sudden, literally my parents live in this like valley in Winterpark. And in the middle of the valley was like Pretty Lights, Kendrick Lamar, like Flashadamas playing. And I was just like, it's coming full. It's like coming to me. It was crazy. I think a part of it too is just like being in Denver, the scene was getting bigger. Like we had, you know, like Pretty Lights back in the day, like Grammatic and all them would always come through. But then the scene kind of like expanded a little bit with like Beta Nightclub and things like that. And I was just exposed to it. And I think collectively all of Denver was, and we just started kind of growing. So it was like partially me being like, it's coming to me, but it's like, I was just a product of my environment for sure.
Denver is a very special space. And like, even you were here for the ROHAAN recording, people from not the United States think that Denver is a special place. And it's like so accepting and it's so like flourishing and just ahead of the curve as far as like a fan and a real lover of music is able to consume new things and be incredibly open-minded. Like me coming from Tampa, St. Pete, living very close to a beach town, but still really connected to the greater population, where we had one EDM club and it was the Ritz, and it was ran by Disco Donnie and Sunset Events. And you got everything from, you know, your Cosmic Gate and Martin Garrix to Flosstradamus and Genie. And like you got like everything in between, but it was only like one kind of like pool to dip your feet in. And
you got what the one promoter was bringing.
Yes, you got what the one promoter was bringing. And it's definitely like grown since then, but it's nothing like this. That represents to me most markets in the United States. Denver is not most markets in the United States.
No, you can go show hopping here.
Yeah, you can go show hopping. I mean, it's just like restaurants. It's like venues. It's like promotional companies. You have to be good here to survive. And each like venue has its niche, whether it's AEG or not, or if it's an independent promoter, like they know their lane and they're really good at it and they've like embellished on it. And also as an artist, like I've never been a part of a community where you can literally look at a piece of paper and go, this is how we build and this is how we grow, and we can go this way or we can go this way. And we can target these things and we can do this headline play and grow to here and then go back to Red Rocks. Like there's nothing I've seen like it. Like I don't even see, you've been in LA like back and forth quite a bit. I don't even know if that exists in LA.
That's what I was going to say is I'm not as like knowledgeable about like the LA, like where you go. Like Denver's very apparent, like Mission Bar and Red Rocks, like that's the biggest venue. LA is different in the sense of like they have such massive venues as like the Hollywood Bowl. So it's like, the like line of venues that you would play in LA are kind of, I think it gets skewed. And then LA also turns into like Orange County and San Diego. And it's like, I mean, and we like had Mission or First Bank Center in Boulder. But it's not the same as far as like all the Denver kids were just going to First Bank Center. But like out there, I think it's just there's so many people and it's so spread out. I don't think it's like as set in stone.
Okay. And I feel like there's so many more like collective. It's hard because you have so many collectives here that do shit. Like you have like the Maybe Forever kids, and then you have the Offbeat kids, and you know, you have those groups. But I would say like in 5 years they'll be operating at the same level as like Brownies and Space Yacht.
100%.
Like they'll get to that point. But it's different in LA, where you look at LA and you go, okay, here's like what Insomniac has absorbed, and here's what like the independent venues have done, and then you have B&L and you have Space Yacht and you have these like parties that really just are like these renegade pop-up. We're going to pull a permit and just make
They're like what's coming next. You know, like when I first moved to LA, I was like 18, couldn't even get into Brownies shows. I think some Brownies shows I could. I definitely couldn't get into Space Yacht.
Because I was at Sounds, the 21 up. Right?
Yes. Well, originally when I was there, I don't know where it was, but then they moved to Sound kind of when I was like there towards the end, because I came back when I was like I came back when I was 20. And it confused me when I first got there, and I was like, oh, what's Brownies Limited? Is that a venue? And they're like, no, it's a promotion company. And I was like, didn't even know what that really was. And I was like, oh, like looking back, like Global Dance is a promotion company, you know, like, but Brownies was just like this cultural thing that was, you know, they were putting on just like everybody from like, I remember they did like We Thin's first show when I was out there. Just like people that are absolutely massive now, we're just starting there.
Crazy.
And yeah, it's cool, really cool seeing like the Maybe Forever crew. Like I fucking love them. And
they have Nina Las Vegas this weekend. My fucking ass will be there.
Gazia and Umru.
Yep.
They, like, I have told them many times, like, Denver, I've never been super like Denver, like rhythm, 140 stuff. I used to not really be into as much. Weirdly enough, now I feel like I make kind of like melodic 140.
Yeah.
But I've never been the true like Denver listener. I've always been like the one who's like, oh, why'd they book this person? And I'm like, I'm so glad they booked that person.
Yeah.
But I feel like Maybe Forever, Offbeat too. They're just like, they're doing what Brownies did, They were in LA and Brownies had to compete against Insomniac. They had to compete against, Golden Voice, who does Coachella. And they were like, we like this music. We're going to do it in a fucking warehouse and hopefully kids show up.
Let's talk about Coachella. What do you think about the whole Grimes thing?
So, I feel bad for her. I really do
too. I feel so, I had a dream the other day when I fell asleep on my couch that I literally was driving a car and I ran into the car in front of me. That's how that would feel.
Oh, 100%.
Like that's like that is everyone's worst nightmare.
Horrible.
It's everyone's worst nightmare as a DJ to like even put yourself in the epitome. It's not even to the point where it's like, oh, you plug in your USB and it's corrupted. Oh, you have another one.
Yeah.
That's where the counter argument in my head goes, where it's like, how does it happen at Coachella? Where's the stage manager? Where's the TM?
Yes.
Where's the sound tech? Where's this person? How is she on a fucking live stream? Losing her shit, imploding. Feel so bad. Poor girl. Because I actually fuck with her music heavy.
Oh, she's
a phenomenal artist. Yeah. But like,
I think like, so did you hear about the Zed Ultra thing?
No.
He like updated his record box like an hour before I think he might have been closing Ultra. I don't know if it was this year or last year, but he like just pulled it together and like, I don't think he played the set he was intending to, but he's like a DJ. He knows exactly what to do.
For sure.
Like if me and you were up there and our records were at 370, we would know to just turn it to the wide range and just. You would put it on the wide range.
You would go down or you would plug in your other USB. You would turn that CDJ off. You would turn it back on. Me, I'm like, I would duck down and fucking throw my drink at someone. Like I would
like anybody help me.
Yeah, someone help me. Yeah. Like before, like you would go through the regular troubleshooting and then you would do that. But it's difficult. It's difficult because I definitely we always get like the record box updates and I'm always afraid that like somehow I'm going to press enter or somehow I'm going to accidentally just update it and it's going to delete everything.
I just updated it before this. I did Temple like a week ago.
Bless.
And keep in mind, this was like Monday. I was playing Friday and I have a US, like I was going to be able to figure it out, but I was like exporting shit and it was so slow. I was like, all right, I'm going to update. It was so quick. Everything worked and it was quick and I was like, okay, I should have done this a while ago.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to do that before Ultra Coachella.
No.
But like going back to Grimes, like it would be fucking horrible to be headlining Sahara Tent and have something like that happen. That being said, like I wonder if it kind of comes down to everybody does think DJing is super fucking easy. And like a lot of times it is pretty perfect where like you can hop on and hit sync and you're like, I could do this at fucking Coachella at Sahara Tent. It'll be easy.
Yeah.
But then, I was listening to, have you heard Rick Rubin's podcast? It's like,
I've listened to a few episodes. I've read the book, the Creative Act Being that he put out, but I haven't listened to a ton of them.
So I forgot who he was talking to, but I was listening to it the other day and they were like, you can't really prepare for like at festivals when there's so much sound and there's like everything shaking, like things always go wrong. And it's hard to replicate that. Like I remember Skrillex before his Mothership tour, like literally rented a fucking warehouse and brought all the sound in and like prepared his set like that way. But unless you're Skrillex, and Grimes is big enough to do something like that, but you can't really prepare for something like that at home. I feel like you can do everything you want and then you're going to get there and it's never going to be like perfect as far as like the way you feel or
it's never. I mean, I'll do sound checks sometimes and it's like if you're in a really big venue, I always have issues with like vocal delay and like hearing your voice like bounce back and forth and you're like, okay, well, when bodies are in here, like theoretically that's supposed to die.
Yeah.
And like if you have your in-ears, it's supposed to go well, but it's like, I mean, fuck, I had a show at Larimer and my in-ears were perfect for sound check. And then all of a sudden there's bodies in the room and there's some sort of signal going off and we can't cut the feedback.
Yeah.
Anytime you turn the mic on, you kill the booth monitor, something, the feedback just pops up, and it's just because it's a small venue.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cords on stage. There's a lot of other signals going on. Like, shit happens, but like, you can't prepare for that. It's just, it's like there's this tiny little thing in the back of my head that's like, wasn't on purpose. And I don't know if that's like the conspiracy theorist coming out in me.
You
like,
mean like the universe or like somebody sabotaging you?
Not somebody sabotaging, like, I don't know, like it's like the Kanye in me, like thinking like, did she pull something that was so fucking wrenching, but now everyone can't keep like her name out of her mouth?
That's true. I mean,
it's hard. Like, that's a really hard decision to do. And I think it is like disrespectful to fans and like this, if you're going to choose to do that on purpose.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's difficult. How did nobody come on stage?
Yeah, that is insane.
Isn't that insane?
Like
and it's not just like 30 seconds of like, fuck, it's like her yelling on the mic. Like, what is going on?
If I was there with an artist band, I would have gone up to security being like, hey, like, I'm going to go fucking try to save this or something. Like, I don't think it was a conspiracy, but like, dude, I don't know. That would just fucking suck.
There's just something about it that like tickles me like a really weird way. I just wanted to know your take on it because everybody and their brother can't shut up about it.
It's true. And I can tell you, I'm going to watch her set on the live stream next week.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
no, everyone is. I think you'll see 400% viewers increase at least. Because even if you didn't watch set, you've seen clips of it.
Well, it's like a NASCAR race. Like, you're like, nobody watches a NASCAR race to watch them go in circles.
No.
You want to see, you kind of want to see the crash. Like, you're like,
see the crash. Oh, that's so bad. It's like, you can't help but like not feel bad for her, especially as an artist. Like, you're like, fuck. Like, even if this was just like careless mistake, lackluster knowledge, like obviously she has a lot fucking going on, like she's crimes. But like also professionalism, lack of preparedness, like shit like that.
Yeah.
And then sometimes shit just happens. And it's like, if that was really just like a troubleshooting nightmare, God, I feel so bad.
Yeah. It goes back to good old ROHAAN. Did you ever see his beef with, it's not beef, but he tweeted and was like, what if we had a CDJ backstage? And then Scream was like, you should have everything prepared, and turn into this whole Twitter thing.
No.
That was a whole thing.
Allison to this day has CDJs in her green room.
Yeah.
That's my thing, is like when I get to the level where I can ask, fuck yeah, I'm going to have fucking CDJs.
I just want to spin like my first like 3 songs. Or if I'm doing like a freestyle set, I just want to like
I go to sound check to this day.
Yeah.
To just make sure. I mean, like if I'm singing, like it makes sense, but like, I get it. It's like if you were nationally touring, you did this every year for 10 years, like 5 years, 10 years, whatever. You're like, oh, I know what's going on. But like, what happens the one time that you plug in and you're like, damn, dude, I had a fucking sound check time and I missed that shit. I missed
it. And now my tracks are at 370 beats per minute.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
It fucking sucked.
And like, I get it. Like, I'd be up there. Like, I'd be like, I am a genius, but like I'm trying to do math. And, like everybody's staring at me and I want to live stream.
It's scary. Like dude, when I did Temple, I couldn't figure out the fucking mic. Like, I don't know what it was, but like, I kept like clicking the button and I'd be like, check. And it would work. And then I was talking to it and it would quit working. And I just was like, I know how to work a mic. Like, how the fuck is this happening? It's just
stuff like that happens. Though.
Yeah.
You know,
it's art. I feel like it's just like, I don't know. Okay. I'm about to get really heady.
Okay.
So one cool thing about LA, and I don't talk shit on LA. I just was spoiled and grew up here.
Okay.
I love LA. The food is fucking fantastic. I have a lot of good friends there. There's a lot of downsides to LA. One of the cool things.
We should get into it. I want to see, because you have a perfect Venn diagram of Denver, LA, cross.
Okay. You want to get into it?
I want to get into it.
Okay. Yeah. So 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, I moved back out there just because I'd grown up here. Pandemic happened and I was like trying to come back out of it. When I was in LA, another big thing was, so I'm sober now. First time I was there, was definitely not sober.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm going to go redo LA. And I got out there and LA is very like, I just became more heady with my music, I think, as far as like my taste. And I got out there and realized like one good perspective I got going out there, like starting in Denver, that I think a lot of producers don't realize being from here or other places. We're kind of Hollywood. Like
Yeah.
We're not really, but at the end of the day, like a lot of the big agents literally work in Beverly Hills. Mm-hmm. Like I have friends at UTA and I've seen some absurd emails and like nothing against like anything like that, but it's just like, it's Hollywood. It's like a lot of things it's their job. They're trying to sell things. And I don't know, I got out there and was just like, I can do this not here. And I kept looking at like festival lineups of like people that I really liked when I was there. I was like, none of these people live in LA.
They live in LA?
No. And like when I was first coming, like when I first moved out there, Denver was still at the point where it was very much like we had Big G, we had things like that. But I felt like when you go out there, I just felt like I had to be there. Mm-hmm. And then when I came back, I was just like, oh, people are doing shit here. And especially like right as I left the second time to go to LA, Maybe Forever was doing shit. All these people were doing stuff. And I was like, the scene is like growing and the scene is becoming more like what I like. And then I felt like I like abandoned it and was just like gone. And then went back into this world of like, not like, nothing is like tech house, but it was like tech house is really big out there. And like, it's just more commercial.
Do you feel like it's like, cause I've talked to so many people who live out there or they've lived here and then they've gone out there or vice versa, where it really is about like who you choose to surround yourself with. Yes. It is about like the decisions you make, whether you're really there for work, but then, you know, you always have that thing in the back of your head where it's the networking and the this and then that. And it's also like, is that really essential and necessary to your success and growth as an artist?
Yeah. So I've talked to Sibby about it as well, who lives out there.
She belongs here.
She belongs here. She really does. Oh, yeah. I've tried to convince her many times to come out here. But her thing is, she's from Sydney. She's used to a beach. She's used to nice weather. She's never home as it is. She's fucking always touring. And when I went out there, I was like talking to her and she's like, I've never had an opportunity come from being in LA. Like, sure, there's been stuff that's like, I can go work at Monster Car. I can do stuff like that. But she's like, I've never gotten anything because I was in LA. And it just like made me realize like, you can never network you can never network better than if you release a really good song. Mm-hmm. You can never do anything. There's no cheat code to this, you know? Yeah. Like knowing people, you might get a really cool slot. Like you might be able to go play, you meet Insomniac people, you can go play EDC.
Yeah.
But you're not, like playing EDC is not going to just set you up forever.
No one show is going to guarantee your success.
No.
That's something I learned very early on, playing an absurd amount of like localized regional shows in Florida and being a resident, being this and being that. Like it's at the end of the day, like if you want longevity and you really want to be your own vision, your own artist, like it is about the music and what you're curating and like the shows authenticity. And like the shows are just like little train carts that just keep you moving along.
Yeah.
And we see like two sides of things where, and we were just talking about this earlier, like you see really like artists, and everybody can be an artist in their own right. I think like in the world of being like a DJ or a producer, there's so many different like hats that you can choose to wear. Like we've seen people that have had 2 to 3 years of mega success and they play every festival they want and they get every tour they want. And then they're nowhere to be found, but they've done their 2 to 3 years and that's what they wanted. They wanted a hot pop. They came up, they came down. Fuck yeah. Like power to you.
Yeah.
Then you have, you know, a lot of DJs, especially in the era of like TikTok and the old samples coming back and, you know, resampling and the utilization of like, you know, the remakes of old songs that we know and love. Like there's something in EDM right now that has like that nostalgia vibe to it that everyone that is in their like late 20s to mid 30s wants to hear, like Panic at the Disco and AWOL Nation and like Flyleaf and Paramore. But it's also not truly original music. It's like, that's like your take on something, which is really cool. And it can live in the dance world and it can live in the DJ world, but also are records like that really going to take you up and above?
Yeah.
And then I think you have people who make straight like club bangers and they're kind of touring mules and they make music to sustain themselves in touring.
Yeah.
And you see it on your release radar and it gets on all the playlists if they have good DSP connections, or it's on Deadbeats or Monster Cat or, you know, a Dim Mock or something like that. And then it's gone the next week. And then you have people that are like the Maddions and Porters that take a really long time and they make conceptual shit. And they've had a really up and down journey. And I think there's like so many different ways you can fit in it, but you have to choose. And like, you have to know what you want as an artist.
You have to figure out like we have been on social media long enough now where everyone knows what's going on.
Yeah.
Like if you're not going to be authentic and you're not going to come across as yourself, it's really not going to work.
It's hard.
You know? And that's what I'm trying to find. Like Ashley's here and she's always like, my manager is always like, you got to do more on social media, this and that. And it's like, I haven't found my voice on social media yet. You know, like I'm super into comedy and I'm always like, what if I do this? And I'm like, nah, that's going to get me canceled. And I'm like, so I'm like trying to, I don't know, like it's hard, you know, like social media is its own art form.
Social media is very difficult for me as well. And it's crazy because sometimes I get asked certain things and I'm just like, dude, like it's hard for me when I went a really long time I was still putting singles out like the last like year and a half, but they were almost like they're tracks that really meant something to me. I don't put out things that don't mean anything to me, but they were fillers in a way of like, hey, I'm starting to make this sonic transition. I'm going to put out some cool collabs with people I like. But in the in-between there, it's like, you know, there wasn't a huge, like, we're going to make this creative backstory and we're going to have all these assets and we're going to go and we're going to film fun stuff. Like, it wasn't that. And like, when I had nothing to talk about, it's hard to like find your voice, especially when you feel like a lot of like your developmental period of you finding yourself as an artist, like wasn't you being truly authentic to who you've grown into being.
Yeah.
And now it's kind of like, and I don't know if you felt like this when you were putting out stuff for the EP and like you're still finding yourself, I'm still finding myself. But when I have like music to push the message, makes shit hell a lot easier.
Oh, so much easier.
So much easier.
Because you have something authentic to talk about. You're like, this is what I'm here to talk about. I'm not here to talk about, you know, my life in the day.
So cool.
Yeah. I made a travel TikTok a little while ago, just trying to be like,
a little vloggy vlog.
Yeah, where I was like just doing this thumbs up. Sippy saw it and was like, this is the most you thing I've ever seen. And I was like, I thought it was the most not me thing because I was just like going about my day in the airport.
Being in front of the camera is different too. Like there's people who are really good at it. And some people are like, oh, well, like it's just like that. Like I have so much respect for like the like Zingaras of the world and like people who are vloggers and influencers because like you literally, I was like listening to Call Her Daddy earlier, which is like a total girl podcast, but she was talking to Emmett Chamberlain and she's done like a bunch of like, she grew up as a YouTuber and now hosts like the Men and like award shows and shit like that. But when you like grow up and when you're like always in front of a camera and you can always have a camera in front of you, like you don't have like these personal things to like hold on to.
Yeah, because everything is there.
Everything is there. And you always feel like you like can keep doing more and more and more. And I loved what ROHAAN said because he said you want to like set expectations for your community and your fan base where if you know all you can commit to is one post a week, you do that one post a week and you put everything of like your authentic self into it. And then you move on. Like, and I chose very much so when I moved here from Florida, I was like, you're gonna have your personal life, like, and it can definitely intertwine, but like you have to have moments that are just yours.
Yeah.
Because when I saw the pandemic happen and I had opportunities taken away, people had their livelihood taken away, like people who I had gotten extremely close with and like we're gonna tour with and we're gonna do this with in 2020, 2021. And it's like they lost their livelihood and then they realized that they had no one around them. And that was really, really difficult. And I'm glad, I felt so bad, but I'm glad I could see that as an outsider that was close enough to recognize what was going on.
Yeah.
Where like in the entertainment industry, just in general, like not even being a DJ, like it's kind of like this neutralized environment where, hey, I can get something from you and you can get something from me. So like, it's okay. And like, you definitely have those people that really want to like take.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, okay, fuck off. Like it's just not going to happen that way.
Yeah.
But when you're like up and coming and you're growing acts like you and I both are, you're like, okay, you can help me out here. I can have you on my podcast. Like we can help each other out.
Yeah.
But are you guys like texting each other like during the holidays when you're home with your family? Like, no, like that's not who I would consider like you have kind of like your your acquaintances
Yeah.
and your people you know through work. And then you have like maybe people you've developed friendships with. Like I definitely feel like I would personally rather pick someone up from the airport and go and have food with them than them list me and me hang out in their green room. Like that's like what I've chosen to do.
You're one of 15 people in there getting drunk and like, like, I don't know. I feel like I've gotten to the point where everyone that I'm close with in music, I'm like genuinely friends with. Part of it's probably because I don't drink or like party. Like I'll still party in the sense of like I'll drink 6 Red Bulls. But that's kind of going back to like the LA thing we were talking about. Some of my best friends I've ever met and I still talk to, I met when I was in LA. The same thing in Denver too. You can find the groups of people that are very, you know, like you said, take, or you can find really genuine people. And it's even better when you find somebody you're actually friends with and then you both have this common interest of music and you can grow together. That's like the most fun thing you can do. Like ROHAAN's mom came and stayed with me for like 3 days when he was like trapped in fucking like Michigan or something. And it's like, he's become like one of my like closest friends. And it's like, then all of a sudden he gets to come here and like play Red Rocks. And it's like the coolest thing we can do. And I don't know, with music, there's like 2 sides to it, but most of us get into it and we're very like-minded people. It's like the snowboarding thing.
Yes.
You know, we're all kind of,
you can see through people who aren't like-minded.
Yeah.
Cause I think there's a lot of like struggles and like sacrifices and experiences that while everybody's journey is different, they all go through these like mile markers. And I think no matter how many like nightmarish hell stories you hear from somebody's journey, you still make those own mistakes in your own way.
Yes.
And you go through those things and you learn through them. And that's how you can really like connect to others. And I think that I've always thought, especially being in the bass community, it was a lot more. Now I feel like I not necessarily associate, but I've developed relationships with artists across like a large span of creation where I was very focused on like bass music for a very long time. And I always felt like they were very, for the most part, genuine people because they were all kind of like these nerds that,
raging,
like these geeks that were super into like computers and they like liked going out, but they really just wanted to be on stage, like doing their thing. And like you can definitely, in my opinion, like see the difference. I always remember speaking to Ricky Nitty Gritty when he was Nitty Gritty before he dropped the gritty. And he just said, you know, you can go out because he was from Miami. So, you know, you have so much stuff that's going on down there and just Florida on a whole, like people get stuck in Florida. It's really, I think me moving to Denver was very, very good for like my trajectory. It was great in the way of could come here and it wasn't like I had to be or felt an obligation to be engaged in certain communities. I could like get to know people, make my own decisions. You're not a local here, like da 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 da. But I also think that in that he just said, you know, you can develop as many relationships as possible, da da da. But at the end of the day, like you being at home and making the conscientious decision to work on your craft is what's going to push you forward the most.
100%.
And I think that people who become very successful understand that.
Yeah. There's also, you got to go touch grass every once in a while.
You have to go touch grass. But Denver is great for touching grass.
Yeah.
I get it. Like California has those hikes and like you can go up to Big Bear and stuff. It's not like
Colorado. It's very, it's partially probably because I know all the spots in Denver.
Yeah.
When I got to LA too, I was like, where the fuck do I go? Like, where do I go to surf or like do anything like that?
Yeah.
But.
Which is exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, it's exciting.
It's cool.
That's how it was when we moved here. I was just like, I would always look on all trails, but you can just go. That's what I loved about snowboarding. Like I can work until 9 or 10 a.m., get up early, go. I'm at Keystone by 11:30. You have a whole afternoon.
World class.
And it is just the best thing for my mind that I could ever ask for.
Yeah.
Like
that was the one thing when I started music. Cause when I was younger, I was like, the only thing that turns my mind off where like, it's almost like teleportation was snowboarding. And it still is where I can just like go to the mountain and then all of a sudden it's 4 p.m. and I'm like, oh, where did the day go? And then once I started making music, that was the only other thing where I'm just.
That's how you knew.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, fucking 6 a.m. now. Like that was great, you know?
I always remember when I first started making music, I'd be all cracked out. I'd get Adderall from my friend. I think I was learning, but I was really like a cracked out squirrel. Don't do that anymore. And
I have my Adderall days. I got really good at drums. My drums would just be fucking going crazy.
I would just be like hunched over in my non-studio chair, horrible posture, like 20 years old. I'm like, gotta nail this. I remember my roommate I would hear his alarm waking up for work and be like, fuck.
I stayed up way too late.
Yeah. I stayed up way too late. Like, this is not like, I'm a very try to be a routinely driven person. And now I've found like a really nice balance, but I do miss sometimes like not being, I think, as much of like a quote unquote adult and just staying up for like 3 days.
Oh, yeah.
Just being like, oh my God, like we're just going to run it out.
I'll flip back and forth between like, my roommate calls it living like a degenerate. So I go on like sober benders and then everything's messy. And then I'll have like a week of like really good.
Yeah.
And like this year I've gotten to travel a pretty good amount for music. And like the start of the year was like every 2 weeks I was doing something. And I've been back home for a little while now. Like I played the Temple show, but that was literally 10 minutes drive. And I kind of like the routine. I've never really had one. Like I'm waking up, I go to this cold plunge spot.
Oh,
it's pretty good.
I need to do that. I've started a rigorous workout routine that I don't really like at all. But it's okay.
Plunge.
It's okay. That's what I need to do. It's yoga 3 times a week. That definitely helps me. The hot yoga. And then cardio day, one big cardio day, snowboard day, full day.
Sending.
First chair, last chair, full day. And then lifting 6 times a week.
That's good.
I have to go to the gym after this. I have to stay. I know the end goal and I want to show myself that I can do it. Creatine, BCAAs, pre-workout.
It's worth it in the
whey
end.
protein.
It's worth it in the end.
I've never done this ever. So I'm excited to see. I'm on week 2.
Nice. Let's go. Let's go.
Let's fucking go. The cold plunge is a thing.
Dude, it's a vibe. I was doing this like routine where I would wake up, do a 20-minute sauna at like 200 degrees. Then I'd get into the cold plunge in like 40-degree water for like 5 minutes and then I'd flip back and forth. And I kept having this point in my day where I would just I had no energy. And I was like, maybe I just need more electrolytes. So I was drinking Gatorade, all this stuff. And I like looked up just some stuff and it was like, you should not do that every fucking day.
No, that's like the great. Joe Rogan effect.
Yeah, and I'm not Joe Rogan at all. I'm like trying to be a savage, but I'm just not. And then, I don't know. It's like I can take things way too far. Yeah. Which is like
I can too. I think that's a thing though. It's such a thing. I like even this past week, like I'll get home from shows and I'll literally go from the airport to the mountain and Wes, my boyfriend, is just like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, and then I'll crash.
Oh, yeah.
Like I went out that whole day. I went to the Abstract show and then we went and we got like drinks somewhere. I was like, dude, I've been up for like 40 hours. Like, this is crazy. But you're like, oh, this is living. And then on Sunday, I'm just like,
so dead.
I can't move. No. Like, I can't move. I don't know if this is like getting older or if it's like you shouldn't do that.
No, shit. Even a 21-year-old's going to go do that and just die.
So let's talk about Icon.
Okay.
Because I know quite a few people who are, I'm not going to say like enlisted. I'm like, I know quite a few people who are like attending right now. And what was like your experience? What was your takeaways? I know that's how you came into contact with Sippy, right? Laura? Yeah. Tons of people.
So many people. It was, so it's a lot bigger now. When I went, there was like 40 kids.
Oh,
probably.
Wow.
And I lived in the apartments across the street called Madison Toluca. If you know.
Lake?
No, it's like by Toluca Lake, but it was literally, there was like one family that lived there, this poor family.
Oh, no.
And there was just producers everywhere. Like at one point, Peekaboo was like living below, I think he was right below me, or like he's in the same complex where he like didn't even have a room. He just had like a sheet. But like everyone was there. It was nuts. And I was like 18. All my friends went to college. And I was going to go to CMC up in Steamboat.
Okay.
I don't even know what for. And I remember my friend showed me, he's like, you heard of Slander? And they were making Festival Trap. And I loved Festival Trap back then.
God, the old Slander.
Yeah.
The Win Good Vibrations was good vibrations.
Yes. Like that era.
Yeah.
And he's like, they went to the school called Icon out in LA. And I was like, what is that? And I looked into it. And I like went to my dad thinking he's going to like, I just went to him. I was like, hey, I think I'm going to do 2 years of college and then go to Icon. And he's like, what's Icon? I showed him. He's like, well, why are you going to go to college? And I was like, I don't know. I figured I had to. And he's like, no, what are you? He's like, I didn't even think you were going to, like, I barely graduated high school. Like I was going to Red Rocks, going to shows. Like there was this girl, Madison, who I had like 4 classes with somehow. And we only had like 5 when I was a senior. Every single class I was with her and she just would give me the homework. And I was just taking Adderall, producing. And my dad was like, you should just go to Icon. And I was like, down. I'm so down.
Sounds good.
So moved out there. I'm like 18. Everyone else is a little older. But it was like college, but there's no rules. Like Icon was just like, you got to come to class 3 days a week and then you can live there. And I was like, sick.
Great.
This is fucking crazy. So, I mean, I went there and I didn't know, like I've been producing for like a year and a half. Like I still say I've been producing from 2015, which is when I went to Icon. Cause like for like the first 3 months, I didn't realize like EDM had a key. It's like, it's just crazy noises and vibes. And then so like somebody's like, no, there's a key. Like it's music still. And, I mean, honestly, it was such a good experience.
Yeah.
We literally were working in one of the studios Michael Jackson recorded Thriller in. It was these old studios called Studio Enterprise that Marilyn Manson owned. And then they sold it to the Icon guys.
Wow.
And honestly, it was so much fun. Like being 18 and it was small enough where like Jaws would come through all the time and like got to know him really well. And it was just this tight little community. And we learned a lot in class. There was kids like I went with something. And I remember he was kind of complaining, and this isn't like a dig against Icon, but he's just such a goated producer. He'd be like, my mentors are asking me how to do stuff. And it's just like,
at that point, I'd be like, save your money.
Yeah. No, so he did test out of, I think, some stuff, but the community of being there and realizing like, like I'm not, because with my friends, I was like the little crackhead who'd be like, I was up till 6 making this beat and it sucked. But then I got to Icon, I was like, oh, everyone does that. That's sick. And like taught me how to live like a producer, like a degenerate, where it's like, okay, we're going to buy top ramen. We're going to get some weed, take a bunch of Adderall, and we're all going to produce. And it was a very formative year for sure. Oh no, vape down.
The vape. Rip.
But yeah.
The network is what I hear is like, it's like you want to talk about an actual like networking community that isn't, we're in the green room and we're all fucked up and I'm trying to get to know you. No, like it's Icon.
It's like we were all in this together. Mm-hmm. And it's like, it's like that point in your life when everyone's going to college and you're like, oh, high school's done. What am I going to do with my life? And it's like, I'm going to be a DJ. And it's everyone else made that decision too. And you're just in it together. But yeah, it's literally worldwide. Like I was going to just Australia on like a family trip because my dad had always wanted to go diving. And we were spending like a week and a half in Sydney. And my mentor at the time was like, oh, you should hit up this girl named Sippy. She's there. And I just like shot her like an Instagram DM thinking she was probably going to be busy or whatever. Cause she was like popping back then. She like ran the DJ school. And she's like, oh, hello, like, let's fucking go. And then just Aussie as fuck. And I had my first legal drink with her, actually.
Oh, my God.
Because I was 19.
You can drink over there.
You can drink over there.
You can drink over there.
Yeah, and she, like, didn't tell me what we were doing. And she, like, picked me up. We went to this, like, rooftop bar. I knew I was going to a show. And we just show up at this sweaty place. It wasn't Chinese Laundry.
Well, I was about to say it was a Chinese Laundry.
No, I didn't go there. But I went to The Wall is what it was called. I think it's shut down now. But it was like Sippy back-to-back Enchway, back-to-back Snails.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Back in the day.
Yeah,
it was crazy. But yeah, it all just came from like that Icon network. And, I just did Club Studio Time, which was so much fun.
Yeah.
But Sully and G-Rex were on it. And it's like just Icon kids from that era, And that era was weird because that was right after Slander, Nightmare, Keizo.
That was Yultron. That was IO. That was Sullivan King.
Yeah, like literally, I would go in. I was always just sitting in the corner. It was like, it was just this crazy time. But totally lost my train of thought there.
No, you're just saying like you guys were all like together as like a community doing this like one thing. And then, but like from like your takeaways at Icon, like I just feel like what I hear most is like the relationships that last, that develop into things that like really do aid your career.
Yes. No, 100%. And it's been like something probably taught me more. Just we used to have wine nights. Mm-hmm. He taught me more on wine nights than I ever would have learned.
Yeah.
But I remember where I was going with that was at that time, it was very like everyone had figured out the formula. It was when SoundCloud was popping off, and it was a really weird time to go.
Change your life.
Yeah, no, because I went and they were like, you need remixes, you need this. Like shows, they were like, don't play any shows. Like Nightmare's first show was like EDC Vegas, was like at the circuit grounds, and just like crazy shit like that. So forever, I had this like instilled in me as far as like, don't play shows, make remixes. And then all of a sudden I left school, and then within a year, SoundCloud was like not irrelevant, but everything was Spotify and remixes were no longer a thing. So it was a very like transformative time. And nowadays it's like totally flipped, where you want to play shows, you want to get content, you want to do things like that.
It's so flipped. You want to create this like, but with that, with like creating this epitome, like this kind of like universe in which you have this momentum behind you, and you've got these numbers, and you've got this, and you've got this, that. Like, I see more than ever just people getting in front of themselves where, and I've gotten in front of myself 100%, but it's also kind of have like the development of yourself as an artist. And then you have people who create these universes online, and then like they've got the agent, they've got the manager, they've got the labels behind them, whether or not they're making their own music, and they've got this whole thing, but like they're lacking like the community and fan base that actually is the most important. And that's what I see is like now you see more than ever, you see the guys at the top, the guys who are pushing all the hard tickets, whether they're on a corporate agency, Wasserman, UTA, CA or not. And then you have a lot of guys who will be support acts for the rest of their life because they don't have the community. Would you rather have streaming farms and the advances and we have the DSP connects to get you on every major playlist, or would you rather have 50 people who will buy every t-shirt you ever release?
Exactly.
You have to weigh those things out. And in a time where like agents and managers and like especially as growing acts, like they want to see that momentum pop and then they never want to see it go away. It's hard to take the time to be one-on-one with individuals that are really truly caring like about your craft.
Yes. Which is something, you know, I see a lot of people doing, where back to Sippy as an example, she will go and talk to everybody in the crowd to like almost a fault. Like we were at Hard Summer and we're trying to go see Skrillex, and I was like, you have to put on my hoodie. She's like, why? I was like, because we're going to walk, like, we're trying to get to this fucking set.
We're trying to go.
You're going to walk 10 feet and somebody's going to be like, Sippy! And we're going to get caught in a conversation. But like her fans fucking love her.
Love her.
Like to death, you know, it's insane. And it's just because she gives that extra second to just go and talk to them.
It means so much. And like you may think, I think it's definitely, because I talked to Ravenspoon about this, where there's a lot of artists that definitely have social anxiety. I mean, at the end of the day, we work one-on-one with each other. And a lot of us are like bedroom rats and like closet rat producers. And like you may collaborate with people, but in this day and age, a lot of those like collaborations, which I quite frankly hate, is I'm going to export stems and send it to you. And we're actually not going to talk about our vision for the project at all. We're collabing. But I'm putting my thing, you're putting your thing. That's it. And I've definitely tried to go against that. But with that, you know, you may have a significant other, you may have a close group of friends. Touring is extremely lonely. Like until you are making an income, which is very difficult to obtain, you are not going to have a full team with you. I know so many people who can fill 1K to 3K venues and sell it out and still don't have a permanent TM. They still travel alone almost everywhere they go. Maybe VJ comes in for a show. Maybe you have a team for a larger show, but you know, with flights and expenses and all that stuff, they're taking everything they can get, which is totally understandable. And then you meet all these people that like love you and are like obsessed with you. And that can become very socially draining. Totally get that.
You're just
and
burnt.
You get burnt out. And Paul was just like, I have to make sure that when I'm available to give myself to other people, it's like 100% of me, which I respect and I understand, because I think if you met someone and you were really burnt out and it was like a first impression and you were like, fuck off, like that wouldn't sit super well. So he's like, I have to reserve when I can really be present and when I have to step away, which I totally understand. I think that's a great like method to the madness of like meeting people and really making them feel as appreciative as every artist is when somebody's really invested in your community project. Sippy is one of those people, and I've met a ton of girl artists that are very able to switch on and they go and they go and they go and they go and they go. I remember my first time, like I would say like hanging out, like actually spending one time with Sippy was when we both played Lost Lands. It was in 2021. It was right after COVID. It was right after the pandemic lifted. Like earlier in 2021, there was like nothing fucking going on. And then like Lost Lands came. It was everybody. It was all of our first Lost Lands. I think it was maybe Sippy's second because she had done one of the ones pre-COVID. But there were a ton of new artists that had bloomed and blossomed during that like period where it kind of like weighed these like level grounds and City had been birthed and like all that shit. And she just took me, and I'm a very like modest person. I can definitely come off as like a little bit of a bitch if I want to. Like I'm not like a person where it's like smiley all the time. Yeah. But like to fans and like stuff like that, like always 100%. But I also am like, I have to reserve my energy. And I just remember Sippy like taking me, and like I almost felt like uncomfortable because she forced me to like be really present in the moment and like really have a very good time. Like we went, and it was like all of her and like the Aussie friends, like Hydraulics, Zeke Beats, like his girl, like there were that's where I met Life Tap Media before I even knew who he was. And like we all had just such a fun time. And like after that experience changed the way that I act when I'm at festivals, because I feel like my time as like a raver was very small because I quickly was like, this is what I want to do. How do we get there? And it's not by doing this my whole year and by buying tickets to festivals and going to raves and doing the camping fest and all that stuff. So she taught me how to like really appreciate, you've been booked here. Like go fucking enjoy yourself and like actually like do what you love to do so much that caused you to want to do this as a career.
Like go experience the festival.
She's so good at it. And like people would see her, people would see me, and it was just like so fun. She has that energy to her, and it's very genuine and it's very authentic, which you don't get in a lot of people.
No, like Sippy to fans is exactly who she is to like when you leave, that's just Sippy.
She's the best. And it's like those are people that like I definitely am very reserved with who I develop relationships with. Like I knew from the first time, like I knew her, I was like, I have to get her phone number. We have to chat. Like Jess Godfrey, Nostalgics. Like again, I'm a girl, so it's a little bit easier to connect with girls. There's also, it's kind of like you standing in a room with 100 people. You're not going to get along with all 100 people.
No.
Like I don't get along with every girl artist. Like there are certain women who I really, really feel like we are genuine friends. And then there are certain people that I'm just like, we don't click. Cool.
Yeah.
And I think in like just the industry, a lot of people try and like make everybody like them. But like that's not how you would be in a college class or graduating class or your high school. You had your group of friends. And like I think that's okay. And that goes to art too. Like I always used to create with other people in mind. And then when I was just like, fuck this during the pandemic, I was like, what do you actually want to do with the project? What actually makes you happy? What actually do you feel like could create longevity and like work with what you want to do with your voice or live elements or da-da-da-da. And it's understanding that not everybody's going to fuck with it. It's not possible.
No, it's literally, you're putting it out there. And if you get the reach that you want, it's the same thing as 100 people in a room. So people are going to fucking hate it. You know, like I remember my first SoundCloud comment that was like, this is absolute trash. And I was like, oh no. And I was like, oh, that just means I'm like getting places. It's like, if you don't have haters, you're not doing anything right. It's like
100%.
But the weird thing is I really haven't met a lot of people that I don't, especially people that are doing it. I haven't met a lot of people that are dicks. Like
the higher up you go, I think the nicer and more genuine the actual artist is. I've met a few, but it's usually their teams that step right in between. Like I've had so many people that like want to do the podcast or want to do this and just stupid shit. Oh, you haven't had enough house artists on, so my artist can't go on your podcast. Like, okay, like totally understand that. But also that's what I feel. And I think everyone needs like a big, like Rick Ross, you know, on their team and like a person to like stronghold. And like, I think as an artist, you don't want that to be you. Like I am very like, I think a lot of artists that are very hands-on with their projects they have to make hard decisions and like they have to have hard conversations within the team. But I never want to be the one to have to go up to somebody that is booking me, investing in the project, signing a track and being like, fuck you. Like, no, I want my manager to do that. So
our job is to smile. Smile and look pretty.
Smile, look pretty, like be nice to everybody. Like that's what you want. And it's not always that way, but I do feel like the higher up that I've met artists that have done this for way longer than I have and like have reached like very inspirational heights of what they're doing, like the nicer the human they are. Like it really has like been that way.
Yeah. No, like the one that comes to mind for me is like, have you ever been to EKALI?
Yes.
Literally the nicest guy of all time. And he has some reasons to be angry with the EDM community, I think. Sure. And he's another one like Sippy, where he's just so fucking nice to people. Like we did the church with him and we showed up and he was like, I thought he was talking to his friend, but it was just like the door person for the green room. And it's just everywhere you go, you just be nice to people because they're like coworkers.
It's literally it. And you never know. Like the biggest thing to drive home that I've just seen people for, I don't know what reason. And again, it's mostly people on larger artist teams. Why would you ever be mean to someone who's working in a venue, who's doing hospitality, who's doing the groundwork, who's doing the day-to-day stuff? Because you literally never know where they're going to be in 10 years. Yeah. And if you, like, I do not forget. Like, I like to say I forget and forgive now. Like, I try and do better at that. But I don't forget when somebody is, like, very mean. Yeah. Like, there's no reason to be mean to someone else because you never know. Yeah. You've seen people who you look at them, artists too, and you go, I don't know what's going on with the project. Haven't seen much movement. Are they still doing their thing? Something happens 2 years later. They're fucking boom.
They're massive.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, just be nice to everybody. And you know, I feel like part of it probably with people getting bigger too is if you're too much of a diva, people aren't going to want to work with you. And that's probably why people none really come to mind that have been on a trajectory and then their ego is taking them out. But yeah, going back to what we were talking about with like a tour manager, like once you get big enough and you do tour with tour managers, you tour with people that are going to be like your VJ or your photographer, things like that, this industry is really small. Like
so small.
It's big in the sense of like there's locals everywhere you go, but people that are actually working in the industry and traveling,
it becomes so small.
It's really small. And if you're become known as the guy that is just a nightmare,
there's reputation. Yeah. There's 100%, just like in any industry. It doesn't matter if you're a lawyer, you're a doctor, what. You set a precedent on how you handle yourself and also by like how the people who represent you handle you. Yeah. Like you have to make cognitive decisions. Like if you want a fucking asshole as an agent, like if you want like this person is whatever. And like, I feel like knowing a lot of talent buyers and then knowing like a lot of people in a lot of different hats in the industry and seeing how some people act towards them. It's terrible. It's terrible. There's no reason to do that. Like I get it. Everybody's got to get their bag. You don't have to get it that way. Like,
I've gotten to the point too where if somebody tells me something about somebody, I am just like, okay. And then I have to meet them for myself.
You have to make your own opinion. Yeah. Because there's always two sides to every story.
Exactly. There's been a couple artists that they're like, oh, this person's a dick. And I meet them like, I had so much fun with them. They're amazing. And it's like, you never know if somebody's getting off a 12-hour flight and their flight was delayed. And then their Uber took them to the wrong spot. And they get there and you're like, hey, I'm so-and-so. And they're like, I can't talk to you right now. I just can't talk to you.
Everyone has off days too. Like you're human. It's just these humans happen to be on the road like every weekend. Yeah. Like once you reach a certain level, and you have to make that decision too. I made that like a long time ago where I was very clear that I do not ever want to be a touring mule. I'm cool to turn it on for 2 to 3 years if it gets to that point. But I will never be someone that is like, I want to be on the road every single week. Yeah. 4 times a week. And this is what I want to do. Like, no, I want to do that, create an album, move up in venue size. Do that, create an album, move up in venue size. Like kind of like the quantity over quality. Like you have to choose what type of artist you want to be. Yeah. And I was talking to entertainment lawyer the other day and he was just like, half the artists that I deal with don't know what they want. And it's hard to choose as an artist, especially in a world where you have like Ableton, NFL, and Reason and all this stuff, and there's infinite decisions. Like you could do one thing a million different ways. Like that's the fun part of being an artist. But if you're an undecisive person and you weigh the pros and cons and you go back here and then you want to go back here, it's hard to create a clear path of like, what do you want executed? Yeah.
My touring idol is definitely What's So Not.
Yeah.
If you ever watch him, he's like, now I'm in Bali playing a show, but the show's not for a week and a half and I'm boogie boarding for the rest of the time.
That's the dream. Yeah, you use it as a mechanism to travel, but then you actually take the time to know where you're at.
Yes.
There's been so many people I've spoken with and so many people that I think are fans that misconceive like this like glorious traveling lifestyle where you're really in like Kansas City in a Hilton. And
we don't get the private jets and the 5 seasons. Like Diplo gets that.
You get there and you go inside your hotel room and you don't come out until it's time to go to the show.
No.
And then you go back and take a shower and you go to the airport. And what did I see in Kansas City? How much barbecue did I have? Nothing. None.
Just at the airport and
absolutely nothing. Yeah. So, and that happens all the time. But I feel like you have to make also a conscientious effort because you can do that really, really easily. But if you sporadically like do things, especially, I just love What's It At.
He's the best.
Yeah.
I'm dropping so I'm doing this thing called flashbacks.
Okay.
And it's going to be like classic songs that I've just listened to over the years.
Ooh.
First one I think is coming out in May, first week of May.
Yeah.
It's going to be a Divide and Conquer What's So Not remix.
Such classic.
That era of What's So Not, his last album was fucking amazing, but the Divide and Conquer and then All Things Are Beautiful.
Okay.
That's like still one of my North Stars for music.
Yeah.
It's so good.
And like him and then like the Glitch Mob guys, like so many people who got me into electronic dance music have learned how to reinvent themselves.
The Glitch Mob are crazy now.
I know.
With their break. Like their live setup is nuts. I was playing a show. I forgot where it was. I think it was in Denver, but Glitch Mob was doing the Offbeat show.
Yeah.
I was so mad. My friends were like, I'm going to Glitch Mob. And I was like, I would go to Glitch Mob over me as well.
Yeah. That would be insane, dude. Yeah, it's very exciting. I think it's a very exciting time in dance music. I think a lot of people are taking risks. I think SoundCloud is like kind of coming back, which is fucking dope. Because I'm like, okay, EP season, get the stems out for the remixes. It's collab season and like remix season. And I have like a list of like 10 songs. I have all these like studio foam things. And then I take tape and I just put sticky notes everywhere.
Yeah.
And like, you have to get this done. You have to get this done. Like, da-da-da-da. And I'm just like, I want to remix all these songs. Like, I want to do all of this and just put them out because I have it. Remixes are so fun to me. Like, they're just, it's cool because you already have like a facet of inspiration.
Yeah.
And after like working on like, same thing with you, like after working on a ton of stuff where you're starting from scratch, like you're really starting, obviously you can have reference tracks or find little samples to manipulate to really like inspire you to start a track, but it's all original music. When you start with something that like already has a melody and it's already a hit, it's already this, and you like reimagine it, that's so fun to me. It's
like reverse engineering. So forever, going back to the What's So Not Divide and Conquer thing, he has this like vocal chop in there that I've never known how he's been able to do. And I watched a bunch of just YouTube stuff years ago on like what he used to, his like process.
Yeah.
And I was doing the Divide and Conquer remix and I realized one of the vocal chops was just one of the earlier vocal bits. And then he just pitched it up in this VST called Manipulator.
Yeah.
And I did that exact thing. And it was the exact replica of that. And for years I've been like, he's like a rocket scientist. I don't know how he would do this and that. And you get into remixes and it's like everyone's working with the same stuff.
Yes.
Nobody has this secret DAW or like even Flume. When Flume did Skin, I was like, how the hell does he do this? And then I got like Quanta, which is like a granular synth. And obviously I can't do it as good as Flume, but I was like, oh, like this is kind of how you do that. And like doing remixes just makes it like humanizes them almost because you can see what they're doing. And it's like at the end of the day, we're all, downloading the same sample packs. We're all on Ableton or FL or Reason or anything like that. And it's just what you do with it. It's like art, maybe it's a little different than art because some people can use a little bit more expensive stuff, but
that's very true.
Thinking of like Andy Warhol or something like that. But yeah, it's just, you can go in there and you can actually, it's like, reverse engineering the song.
You actually do it.
Becomes less intimidating.
It really does. Especially when you can hear something in your mind and then like you can emulate it very, very clearly. No, I love that.
Then every once in a while though, you'll do one and you're like, how the fuck do you do this?
You're like, I can't do this.
No,
yeah.
Like, this is nuts.
But then it usually takes me 3 days. If I put in 2 to 3, maybe 4 hours a day, day 3, I have a breakthrough. I've gotten it now. Like, and it doesn't matter if it's a remix, if it's an original song. If I get in it and I put on Do Not Disturb, no distractions. You put in 2 to 3 hours, day 1, day 2, day 3.
Yeah.
Day 3, I walk away going, okay, we got something. We're good.
How long do you sit for like...
Don't talk to me. Dude, it's so bad.
Short or long?
Like when songs are done? Is that what you're going to ask? Or am I
so
totally
like for me lately, I've been trying to figure out, like I can't work like a work day where it's like, no, I'm sitting in the studio for 8 hours.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to ask me how long do I wait to release songs, and I've had this EP that I'm putting out now for 2 years. So don't want to talk about that.
That's a little long.
Not great. It's super long. Yeah. I've had this conversation lately, and now literally I'm finishing like remixes and they're coming out like 3 weeks later.
See,
like,
that's
okay, cool.
Yeah, that's the flip. Like my EP took me, I started it in May of last year and it came out in February.
Yeah.
But then, yeah.
That's normal. Yeah. I think that's a very normal time period. Like if you're starting, and it was 5 tracks too. So like you have 5 records, like that's, yeah. I wrote like some of my stuff in COVID, and then I had the bass line for all of the singles during COVID. And then in 2022, I wrote the intro, the interlude, the outro, tied it together, changed like the key on one song, mixed the whole thing down, paid to get it mastered, ended up mastering on my own. and now it's out. But now I'm like, okay, this is like a weight off my shoulders. Let's keep moving on. For as far as sitting, that's where like I say I have a routine, but like I don't. Like I have to want to do it because I should force myself to do it more, but I've gone through periods of time where I force myself to do it. And I found that I progress more if I take breaks when I feel it's needed.
Yes.
I progress way more because I will not touch my DAW for 2 weeks and I will sit down and I'll be like, this is the best shit I've written in 3 or 4 months. Yeah. And I took a break and I didn't force myself to do it because when I was taking Adderall all the time. And again, a lot of that was learning. I don't know if I was necessarily obtaining, but a lot of that was learning and emulating and
it's
replicating.
Not lost. Like
it's not lost. Yeah. It's not lost. But like understanding like the basics of sound design. I come from music theory. I come from classical music. Writing the songs, cool. Have it in my head, sweet. How the fuck do I do it in the DAW? Yeah. That was, to me, it was more of like, you need to read the mixing guide handbook and the user manual, and you need to like emulate it in the actual DAW and understand how to mix and EQ and post process. Like that's what I had to understand how to do.
You're the only person I think I've ever met that read the Ableton handbook.
Manuals are great. It's a lost art. It really is.
I now am better at it when I get a plugin and I watch a YouTube video on it.
Yeah.
But I used to just like get in it and be like, how do I fuck? And it was when I was taking Adderall actually, because I would just like would not have the patience and I'd just be like, okay. And then I would have no idea what I'm doing.
And after I went through that phase, I mean, I'll sit down and like, if I have a deadline, it's different. I can force myself to work, but I often don't think it's my best work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Normally when I have an idea and I'm like down with something, the most, I think, difficult thing for me is songwriting vocals. Yeah. I'm really, really into just producing lately, but I have so many things that I need to put my vocals on, and that's a little daunting. But what do you do?
So I am very weird. I will like... So lately, actually, you would fuck with this. There's this new video game called Shredders. It's a snowboard video game.
Why does that sound familiar?
It's so good. It's like, I saw it on TikTok.
Have you watched Fallout?
Yes.
Dude, it's so
I'm like on the 2nd episode.
Oh, it's so good.
See, okay, so Fallout is a game. So yeah, where I was going with Shredders.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
Like
you're good.
That's it.
This is producer talk.
Yeah.
All over the place. But no, so with Shredders, it's like skate. Like, did you ever play skate when you were younger?
No.
So it's like...
Is that the Tony Hawk game?
Yeah, but it's more realistic.
Okay.
But Shredders is like the snowboard version of that.
Oh.
And you can just hop on and just like...
That's really fun.
Bust a double cork, and then there's like vibey music to it.
Is it like a thing that you stand on?
No, that'd be sick. It's just a video game.
Never mind.
That would be fucking
really fun.
That would be fucking sick. But so I've been going to the studio, opening Shredders, doing that, and then sitting down and like writing stuff. I've actually been reading the like Rick Rubin book a little bit. I've been trying to get more like spiritual.
It's a great book.
Yeah.
I take it one chapter at a time and I'm not done. I've been reading it for a very long time.
It makes you feel really smart because the chapters are short. So I'm like, I read fucking 3 chapters.
Yeah.
Today.
Yeah. I literally do one when I have time. Like when I have time and I'm sitting and I'm just like desk scrolling, I'm like, go away. Go read the book.
Go read the book.
That's it.
But yeah, so I've been like doing that as far as just getting in the zone. And then I will work sometimes for like 30 minutes or I'll work for like 6 hours.
Yeah.
It's really sporadic and it's really annoying. Like we have some deadlines coming up because I'm at the point where I'm trying to get on labels. I'm trying to get on more labels and like I want to have like 5 bass tunes and 5 melodic tunes and all this stuff. So I just have this way of like, I have to write like 15 songs.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to like be the vibey artist. It's like, oh, I didn't get in the right headspace today, so I can't write this today. And it's like, I just need to like get it done. But deadlines do help in the sense of if I sit there and do it, I'll at least get a structure. And I might go and rechange 90% of it as I go. And then it's just a completely different song. But at least like things are happening.
That's
and I don't feel
real thing.
Fucking crazy. Like when I was finishing the EP, I knew it was bad because if I write music all night, normally I feel fulfilled.
Yeah.
But I was at the point where I was like writing shit. And then I was like, oh, another night of writing this. And now I have to wake up and, you know, like I didn't get to hang out or like, yeah. And that's when I was just like finishing the EP. I finished it. Like I changed all the songs in like a week before like submitting it fully. And before that I was like finishing. I was at 90% for like 2 months, but yeah, I don't know. It's just the artist process of.
It is. And it's so different. And I get, cause you do have like a producer's producer where they say, I have 200 demos and private links in my SoundCloud playlist. And here you go. And then I'm not that producer. It's really difficult for me to put myself in that mindset. Like when I'm passionate about something, I want to finish it. Yeah. Like you either are down with it and you want to hop on board now, or like you're not. Like, because if I do the whole thing, I'm not going to collaborate with you. Yeah. So like that's like where my head goes, where it's really difficult for me to say, okay, I'm going to write just this melody and these really open drums and I'll give it to you. Like it's hard for me to like let that go. And I do believe there's a happy medium between getting in the DAW every day, because every day you get in the DAW, you have a closer chance to making something that's really great. Yeah. And then also forcing yourself when like it's just not there.
You can definitely dig yourself into a hole.
Yeah.
Where you're just like, I have no idea. Like I was on this thing where I could write intros all day long. And I was like, I don't even know what to do with a drop. And every single drop I made just sounded like a really shitty Skrillex ripoff. Not even like actually, it was just, And if I kept doing that, I knew things were going to get
not great.
No. Cause like, I don't know, I've gone in spurts from like, I don't believe in writer's block, but then I've like kind of had it.
Yeah, I don't either. I believe in burnout.
Yes, that's what it was.
I believe in like you've done this for so long and you're doing the same thing, expecting a different result, which is the definition of insanity. And then you burn out.
Yeah.
Like I've definitely gotten that, but I've never been like, I just don't write. And like I think I do get a little lazy there where I have so much other shit going on that I can very easily say, no, not to the DAW today. Like we're not writing today. We're not doing that. And then, but if you let that go for so long, then you kind of get in the DAW and it either goes, wow, I'm so inspired to do this. Like I made a very, very, very quick like rework bootleg, whatever, the Artemis, the I Like the Way You Kiss Me or whatever song. Cause I was like, I'm obsessed with this vocal. I need to throw in the stem generator. I need to do it right now. And I was like, just sit down, do it. Day 3, fucking done. Yeah. But that doesn't always happen. No. And so it's finding what works for you.
Yeah.
I could talk to you forever, but I don't think people want to listen to 5 hours of podcast. So what's going on with it like in the future? What are some things you're excited about? What are some things we should know about? And then I'll let you go.
It's cool. So what's going on? Got a collab with CAPSHUN coming out.
Ooh, I love him.
He's the best.
I play his bootlegs all the time. There's one that I have like permanently in my set. Him and MSFT
Misfit's fucking sick.
I have the Diplo bootleg in my set like permanently. Yeah, so good. The only bass house track I play. Like that's it.
Caps
Jump
goated.
Up, bass house, whatever.
He's become a good friend over the last like 2 years.
Cracked producer.
He's so good.
Phenomenal.
We had this like writers camp last year. We're actually gonna probably try to do it again.
Ching was there.
I
saw him taking photos. I was like, where the fuck are you? And sick. I think I texted you and it was like, damn, dude. I was like, that'd be fucking sick.
It was like, we kind of just like threw it together and like Amanu came and like, it just like turned out. And we just randomly got this Airbnb and it was the sickest Airbnb.
It looked beautiful. Dude. That's what you want for writers camp. I don't want to be in LA in a fucking apartment complex. Like I want to be out in nature, in the middle of nowhere. Maybe no service, just Wi-Fi. Yeah. And like you have your own room, like go work. And then at the end of the day, like you guys all show your shit. Or like something like that.
Well, we were kind of doing that. We did like a beat battle and then we were like we like had a couple different rooms. We just like turned into makeshift studios.
Yeah.
But dude, like the handrails going up the stairs were old chairlift wire. It was sick.
What?
I was like, this is the perfect fucking Airbnb. And it was like, we were there for like 5 days and it was like $1,200. It was sick.
Where were you?
We were in Winterpark. It was the off season though.
Okay.
Yeah. which was kind of tight.
Great.
It was like raining and the clouds were coming in.
That's great.
Yeah. But yeah, so we started it there. We actually finished it in Joyride Studio in LA, which was fucking crazy. He was like, he came and stayed with me. And when I was living out there, he's like, do you want to go to Joyride Studio? And I was like,
let's go.
Let's go. So that's coming out in, April 26th.
Ooh, soon.
Very excited about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Playing with Tizoki at church. Tizoki and Remke at church, May 9th.
Exciting.
Very exciting. That one, I've been playing a lot in Denver, so I was like, I don't know if I should do this, but
Tizoki's perfect.
Is literally my number 2 listened to. Number 2 most listened to on Spotify.
Sonically, you guys are aligned.
Yeah. I was like, for the culture, this has to happen.
Yes. This has to.
So that's going down. Starting this like flashback thing where I'm going to be doing a bunch of remixes.
Literally, my boyfriend said that I should do that right before he came here.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm down, but like also it has to be ones that people aren't doing.
Yeah.
Because he was like, you should take the old like 97X lineups and like go in. I was like, I could see me doing like AWOL Nation, like maybe Neon Trees, Animal, Sail Away. Cool. Like, but like Dancy, D&B. I don't know. But you're doing, I think a lot of people are kind of like doing this nostalgic thing.
Trying to go back.
But you got to do it in your own way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and I'm not trying to do like Daft Punk songs or things like that.
Yeah.
It's mostly records that have inspired me a lot over the years.
That's exciting.
That I'm like, all right, I need to get this done.
I need to do it.
But yeah, other than that, just grinding, having fun.
Love it.
I'm trying to do stuff that I think is cool. Have fun.
That's what it's about. Having fun is what it's about.
Yeah.
Don't lose the fun aspect.
No.
So then it all goes downhill.
And then we're doing this for nothing.
Then you're doing it for nothing.
Yeah.
No, I love it. I love podcasts like this because we're super comfortable with each other, and I feel like we can talk very openly, and it's more an actual like podcast than like an interview where I'm just like, oh, like I hate that. Like it's like, what questions are you going to ask my artist?
What are you wearing
fucking
tonight?
know. Like, don't work for EDM.com.
Yeah.
Like this is a podcast. We get to talk about whatever we want, and it's dope. And I think a lot of people still learn a lot of cool shit from it.
Yeah.
So thanks for coming on, Devon.
Thank you for having me.
See you guys. Bye-bye.